You are listening to Small Business Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives small business owners the straight talk on productivity, time management, business systems, leading your teams, strategic decision-making, and mindset. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the productivity specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. Today is episode 386, Turning Your Data-Driven Metrics into Revenue with Amy Traugh. If you're a small business owner who wants to learn effective business strategies, improve time management, and elevate productivity to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm looking forward to bringing this interview to you because you get to meet our guest, Amy Traugh, aka the Matrix Maven. She teaches solopreneurs how to strategically leverage data to quickly and easily shatter any sales plateau without adding more to their already full plate. As a best-selling author and business strategist, she helps entrepreneurs ditch the data drama, stop guessing, and start growing with simple and sustainable strategies. Having built 3 businesses from the ground up without a business degree, Amy knows firsthand that success isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. This was really a fun interview, and I know that you're like, what? You're talking about data and metrics. How could it be fun? It really was, because I asked her to come with really practical strategies that you can implement easily into your business that have a big impact. So if you are already tracking your metrics and your data, then listen in because you're going to hear some tricks and tips and strategies that you may be able to take it to the next level. If you have not and you're like, no, those numbers aren't for me, it seems complicated, it seems overwhelming, then this episode is for you because Amy makes it very, very approachable. And I got to say, I geek out about the data and the metrics, so we got to geek out together, and you'll hear that in today's conversation. Before we dive in, I want to invite you to take my next level business owner quiz. In 3 short minutes, you will find out what is most holding you back in your business, and then you'll get a curated playlist of specific episodes from the Small Business Straight Talk podcast that address those challenges. And in those hand-picked curated episodes, I made sure I gave you the best of the best on the topics that matter most to you. They matter most to you because that's where you're finding challenge, resistance, maybe even hitting a wall. And inside those episodes, you will find specific and actionable strategies you can implement immediately into your business. So don't wait any longer. Hit pause and head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz. Again, that's amberdelagarza.com/quiz. And now, let's meet our guest and get to the straight talk. Amy, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am so good today. How are you doing, Amber? Thanks for this opportunity.
Absolutely. So I was on your podcast, The Metric Maven, and we really hit it off. And I thought, oh my gosh, I absolutely need to have you talk to my audience because, well, metrics are important, but you can get them excited about it. And I was like, if anyone can really nail this conversation and this topic and really engage the listeners, because, we like to do things we're engaged in, and this is really important. So talk to me about, if your podcast is The Metric Maven, how did you get into this? Why do tracking metrics matter to you? And why does it bring you so much joy? That's really what I want to know.
Yeah, this brings me joy because this is one strategy that has withstood the test of time. This is how I have been able to grow and scale 3 businesses from the ground up without a business degree. Because it's based in facts. It works. Metrics are the solid foundation, the concrete of business. And let's face it, it's not the really glamorous part of entrepreneurship that so many people think of. We're scrolling through social media, looking at Instagram, going, oh my gosh, I just want to be, sitting on a yacht in the middle of the Mediterranean, drinking margaritas, having money flow effortlessly into my bank account. Well, you can, but it takes some work behind the scenes. How do we do this? We use our data to drive our decisions. And when we start to look at the metrics that matter in our business, that allows us to stop guessing and start growing our business with clarity, confidence, and ease. No more second guessing, no more going, well, nothing's working. Our data is there to give us clues. This is what I leveraged my entire career when I actually come from a physical therapy background. I worked in outpatient physical therapy for 15 years prior to starting my first business. And so that's what I did with my first business. I used the data to drive my decisions, and I was able to grow it and scale it very rapidly because of data. So that's why I'm so passionate about it, because it works. It has withstood the test of time, and it's not nearly as complicated as people make it out to be.
Yeah. I find that business owners, avoid the numbers, their financial numbers, but even in more broader sense, the data. Why do you think business owners avoid this whole topic in general? Like, what are the fears? What is the thoughts, the beliefs of why we do not embrace metrics?
Yeah, it really does come down to the story that we're attaching it. It is that deep-rooted fear. Because let's face it, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we go and we open up our analytics because we know that's what we're supposed to do. We hear that we're supposed to leverage our data. So we go in and we look at it. Instantly, we get triggered back into high school algebra. You're taking a test, you're staring at it, you have no clue how to solve the equation. So we're looking at these numbers and we don't know what to do with them. And that's very frustrating. It's scary because sometimes you see these numbers and they're not where you thought they would be. And then we start to tell ourselves stories. We start to spiral on this wonderful thought spiral of, well, maybe I need to pivot. Maybe I need to add another offer. Maybe I need to burn it all down and start over. We've all done it. But when we can take that step back and zoom out and go, wait a minute, this is just information. All of these numbers on the screen, it's just information telling a story. How can I zoom out, get curious, and start to view my business as an experiment and see what's working, what's not going quite to plan, and how can I spot these hidden opportunities that are packaged up as challenges in order to grow my business? Data is just there to be the light switch in a dark room. It's there, and it's so much easier to navigate the room and do whatever activities you're doing when you have a light on the topic or task at hand. This is what your data is doing for you. It is there to help you. It is not there to judge you. And we're human. We're meaning-making machines. That's normal. So if you've been triggered by your data in the past, please know you're not alone. But when you can learn to view it as your business bestie instead of your worst enemy, oh my gosh, it's the game changer. That right there will change your business.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to share my own experience and story with this because you said the two exact words that I wanted to make sure my audience heard today. So I had a business coach many years ago, probably back in 2018, 2019. And the coach I was working with was focused on funnels, launches, the whole thing. And so it is really data driven. And while I learned a lot and there was a lot of strategy, the one thing that I took out of it that actually transformed my business in so many more ways than just the data was her consistency in the messaging of get curious and this is an experiment. And I take this through in every way in which of my business and in my life. And you said those words. And so I really just want to sit on that for a moment and maybe expand it a little bit, because I know that I had to hear it several times from my coach and how transformational that was. One, getting curious. I am naturally curious, but when I had these stories, beliefs, fears, my stories got crazy, girl. Like, I mean, we're very creative people, right? And so when she said lean into curiosity, I was like, well, in most areas of my life, I am naturally very curious. Okay, I can do that. And then she further went on to instill that this is an experiment. And that piece right there allowed me to be unattached to the outcome. So like, I'm invested. Of course, you want your data to look good and you want your funnels and your launches to be good. But when I approached it as an experiment, I didn't feel as attached to the outcome. I was just like, okay, we can control how we show up. We control what we do. We can, look at the data. We can pivot. But if it works or doesn't work isn't my identity, or it isn't a fact of whether the business is good or bad. Those two things absolutely changed it. Do you want to expand on that a little bit and put it because you use those words, but I was hearing you loud and clear because that was my intent for today's conversation.
Right. And I feel like as entrepreneurs, we hear that all the time. You need to detach from the outcome. You need to detach from the outcome. Well, that's easier said than done, right?
Easier said than done.
Right. In business, we've all gone through silent launches. We've all put things out there that have flopped. This is just a fact of business, and it is a numbers game at the end of the day. But business is going to go up and down. There's always going to be a natural flow. But when you really lean into it and get curious, it opens so many doors. And we're going 3-year-old curiosity level here. Really start asking yourself, okay, well, I put this out here and nobody opened it. Why? Why could that be? Asking yourself the questions why and how are two amazing questions that will shed so much light on opportunities that are right in front of us. Because what happens is we get so focused on what's not working, we forget that, there's a lot of things that are actually working for us right now. And when we lean into that, we realize that our results are not an indicator of our worth, are not an indicator of how amazing of a business that we have. It's just information. It's going back to the scientific method that we learned in school. You form the hypothesis, you test it out, and then you revise based off of that. That's all that business is. And when we do this, it gives us back control because now we can be proactive versus being reactive. We can plan ahead because we can see, oh, wait, summertime, June's always a slower month for me. How can I bridge the gap? What can I do in order to, knowing that this is coming up, fill that opportunity? Use this as an opportunity to grow. It's just information. It's just like if you were driving cross country. I'm willing to bet all of us would use our GPS. We're not just going to wing it and hope we get there one day. But this is what's happening in our business. We're just guessing our way through. When if we would just take a second to look at the dashboard and realize that our gas gauge is flashing at us, telling us you're almost out of gas. That's an opportunity right in front of us. Oh, okay, there's a gas station at the next exit. I just have to pull off and refuel. Same thing with the business. We need to be intentional and make the time to do the not so glamorous, not so sexy parts of business. And this involves treating your business like a business. Block out that 30 minutes a month to look at your data. And the really cool part, it's already there. Even if you're not actively tracking it, the beautiful thing about technology is almost every platform you use has some type of analytics that you can dig into on the back end.
Okay, well, let's dive into that. That's a good transition into, as small business owners, and you already, nailed it, not a lot of time. So you're saying in 30 minutes, maybe weekly, you're able to go look at those numbers. What numbers? What numbers matter? Because when I first got into looking at metrics and data, I'm talking many, many, many years ago, I kind of fell off the cliff, meaning I wanted all the data and all the information. And that wasn't, really necessary. So I pulled back to what I know is critical in my business so that I don't feel the overwhelm and that I can really look at seeing what the trends are and things. But what would you tell a business owner? Like, what's version 1.0? Maybe what's version 2.0 of how do you ease your way into adopting data-driven decisions?
Yes. And this is where it is so important to remember simple is sustainable. Stop overcomplicating it because there's two mistakes people are making when it comes to data. Number one, not leveraging it. Number two, overcomplicating things. We don't want to add more and more to your plate. We want you to be able to sustain things in a simple manner. And when you start to see those wins, it snowballs. And so if you're tracking everything under the sun, you're going to get overwhelmed. It's going to become another task on the to-do list, and you're going to abandon it. So I always recommend by zooming out. We want that big picture view. So we look at our funnel. We look top of funnel, which is marketing. Where are people finding you? How are they getting into your world? Then we move down to sales. What is our conversion rate? And it's important to realize that conversion rate, we don't want to even just look at how many people are going from follower to buyer. No, I want to see how many people are actually opting into my list. What's working? How are they finding me? And this is where UTM tags, and that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day, are really, really cool because you can actually see, oh, was it because of a guest appearance I did on Amber's podcast that drove people into my world? Was it a summit that I was a part of? Was it when I gave my book away at conferences that people found me? Using these little tags, and they're so easy to put on there, that lets you know where are people coming into my world from, and then how many people are actually opting in. So what this tells us, if we're noticing these drop-offs, it's like, oh, it's just a messaging disconnect. Oh, I need more visibility. Oh, this is the problem. This is where the spotlight's shining that I've been ignoring it. So we have marketing, sales, and then I like to look at what so many people forget is retention and referral rates, because we forget so often that it is 5 times more cost effective to retain a current client, to have them be an affiliate for us, than to acquire a new lead source. And especially in this day and age, where so many people have been burnt in the online space, people go for people they know, like, and trust, right? If I say, you know what, you're really struggling with your time, I know somebody perfect for you, and I can send them your way, Amber. Like, it's just that warm word of mouth referral. We forget about that. We forget to nurture those people that are already there in our world. So that's the low-hanging fruit. So
isn't that interesting though? I mean, I've done other episodes and podcasts about it. We want to get all super creative with the marketing. We want to do the new cool thing, but it's really getting back to the basics of relationships and, doubling down on the clients that already, as you said, know, like, and trust you. And then they share your, name with word of mouth and referrals is path of least resistance. And it's right in front of us. And so many business owners want to skip over that and go straight to new clients or new leads. And it's so much harder to get them through that funnel. Harder and more expensive. I agree with you.
Yeah. And then we're always chasing shiny objects. We're pivoting because we're consuming so much information that we're trying to do what everybody else is doing. And then we end up blending into the sea of sameness. But when we can really hone in and look at these 3 key areas, it lets us see what's effective in our business so that we're not comparing ourselves to someone else. We're not worried about what they're doing because it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. Like, there's so much, like, how many billions of people are on this earth? There are people out there that need you right now. I don't have the capacity to serve every single person in the world. I don't want to serve every single person under the sun. But what this does is it gets us out of that strategic whiplash, that chasing shiny objects like, oh, they're doing this, so I have to do this. And it just really saves you time energy, and frustration, which is what it's all about, right? Making our business a well-oiled machine that creates this flexibility and freedom that we created it for.
Absolutely. So just taking those three, do you, let's just say you have your conversion number from call-ins to your office, then you book them into a discovery call, you have 10 discovery calls, I don't know, 5 of them become a client, right? So that's 50% conversion. In that example, which is very loose and just pick some numbers.
Yeah.
How does a business owner know it's not supposed to be 75% or that 50% is good and they're nailing it because maybe their competitors are doing 30%? I think that's where some of the concern comes from is, okay, now I got the data, I'm looking at the data, and I'm not supposed to tell stories about the data, but how do I know if 50% is good or I need 75%?
Right. Industry standards are great. I mean, they're wonderful things to have. But at the end of the day, you want to compare your numbers to your numbers. That's what matters. So take, for an example, a launch. Last launch, we had this many leads come in, this many converted. What was it this time? Start comparing your data over time, because what happens is when we're looking at data points in isolation, it's not giving us the full story. It's just giving us like a snapshot instead of looking at a whole movie. But when we start to compare our numbers to where they were and where they are, that gives us so many amazing opportunities, because it's like, oh, wait, I actually did a lot better. Maybe I'm not quote unquote industry standard, but look at how much growth I had from last month to this month, last quarter to this quarter. Over time, we get more and more information, and the more and more information we gather, the better decisions that we can make. And that allows us to adjust in real time, making those small little adjustments versus these whole 180 pivots where we're constantly changing everything and we don't know what's actually working because we're always changing our strategy. And that's so easy to get caught up in right now in society, because we live in an on-demand culture. I mean, no longer do you have to wait for your favorite show to come on TV. No, you just go to Netflix, search it, and you can watch it anytime that you want. Heck, when you finish one, they'll recommend the next binge-worthy series, and before you know it, your whole Saturday's gone because you've been watching documentaries. It's crazy how our brains are wired. And we've really become conditioned to being like, oh, well, wait a minute, because I'm not seeing success right now, because this data point isn't where I want it to be right now, that means I'm doing something wrong. No, it's just information. It's just giving us clues.
Yeah, and they are clues. And I just need to just insert, as a business coach, this is where you get your data, you track your data, and then you're working with a business coach, because those are the questions that I'm asking. I ask, what are your conversion rates? And we're digging into that because we might find that it's a business system that's missing, like lead follow-up. If the client, this is a big one in my world, is if the business owner is consistently putting time to do with the marketing, and they're putting time and money, but their bucket has a hole in it, meaning it's just falling right through because there's no business systems like lead follow-up happening to really optimize and increase those numbers. That's a business efficiency issue. And, do you have, this is a great question. So if you're tracking your conversion numbers, do you have a solid, consistent lead follow-up for the people that don't say yes or no? And in fact, most leads fall somewhere in the middle, unless they're like a hell yes in that moment. And most don't say no. So they fall really in there. How are you following up? And is it effective? And are you consistent with it? And can you delegate some of the follow-up? Those are the types of questions that I think a business coach, as an example, can use really good data to help, make those tweaks you're talking about. Just improve them a little bit by asking questions and then implementing strategies.
Oh, definitely. And it helps us make better investments too in our decisions. When we know exactly where the gap is, it lets us know, okay, you know what? Maybe I do need to spend some money on more visibility. Maybe I need to expand my audience, or maybe it is something simple like that, like a follow-up issue. Because so many times we're not following up because of, again, It goes back to mindset. It's the fear of rejection. We tell ourselves stories. Oh, people are busy. This must not be a good time. Maybe it's my pricing. And we start thinking all of these thoughts. But the data is objective. It's based on facts, and it allows us to compare ourselves with ourselves versus everyone else. Because, like we talked about with industry standards, it's really cool. The industry standard is this, but what is your standard? What is Amber's standard? What is Amy's standard of what works for me? And especially now, we see this a lot in the online space where we see these people, throwing all these crazy numbers around without context. And it's like, okay, well, you don't know the full story there. We don't know how much was invested on the back end with some of these crazy numbers that we see. Anything is possible, absolutely. But we want to know what is best for you.
Okay, excellent. And then what are your thoughts about, the data is telling you quantity, right? So if you know that certain leads are higher from one lead source, or one marketing source, but you watch that go through the funnel and your conversion rates are lower, that tells you it might be a quality issue. Yeah. Right? Because whereas you could get lower numbers from a different lead source, but they're higher quality and the conversion rates are higher. When we are joking but not joking about telling stories, those are the story through threads I love to get into and get curious about, because it's all about working more effectively, efficiently, and putting more time and money just to see a number go up may not actually help, to your point, the trickle down into the sales and then, clients and referral clients if it's not quality all the way through.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely. And that's where it's important as a business owner that we take the step back and really assess the data that we're getting, because vanity metrics are a very real thing. We're talking about those metrics like follower counts on social media that, oh, wow, she's got, 150,000 followers. That's awesome. But what I get curious and go, okay, well, how many of those are actually converting? How big is her list? How engaged is her list? How many people are actually becoming buyers? So again, this helps us kind of get out of this spiral of thought that we get stuck in, these stories that aren't even true, and go, oh, okay, here's what I can do to make this work for me. And at the end of the day, that's what our business should do. It should work for us. This is just another tool, another asset to use in order to grow our business.
Yeah. So I'm gonna share a little behind the scenes of how I help my own mindset around email open rates.
Yeah.
I send emails every single week to my audience, and I try to provide value, right? It's not just, hey, just listen, but each individual email has value to stand alone. We put a lot of work into that, myself, my team. And you're always looking at the open rates and you're like, they got to be a certain number. So here's how I help my mindset. If you have not been active in my email list for 6 months, a year, I clean you out and I will remove you from the list. And I believe that if you're still engaged in the podcast and you're still engaged in my content, you'll re-opt in, you'll re-engage. Maybe something was happening. But when we're talking about vanity numbers, right? I'm like, nope, we're cleaning that out because I want my open rates to be as high as possible. Because I care about open rates, I don't care about the number of people that are on the email list. And when I say I don't care, meaning that's not the number that I'm going to prioritize over. I want to know that the people that I'm serving are getting, value from the work that I do. So anyways, long story short, sometimes they are vanity numbers, but depending on which one you're looking at, you might need to do some things that make you show up consistently and do the work consistently. And for me, I want to see a high open rate.
Oh my gosh, I'm the same way. Every 6 months, we go through a re-engagement campaign. And if you don't open it, we just wipe it. Because if the person hasn't opened anything from you in the last 6 months, chances are they're really not that interested in what you have to offer. So yes, I want to be there serving those who care about what I'm doing. And it's okay. We get so wrapped up in oh my gosh, well, my list size is almost this. I just had a client the other week. They're like, but my list size is only this. I'm like, but put that into perspective. So if you were to be speaking in front of a room of people with that many 100 people in the room, it's a pretty darn good size room. Like it's okay if they are engaged, if they're opening your emails, if they're clicking, like they're nurturing them. You're staying top of mind. So keep going. The the size doesn't matter. It's the quality of who's there. And especially on Instagram, you start scrolling through some of these followers and it's like, it's all bots. So why are we even so worried about this? Like what's actually working for you right now?
So I think the key here is to look at the numbers that really make the most sense to you and stay away from the vanity numbers that may not have as big of an impact on your business. So shifting just a little bit, you just shared marketing, sales, retention, referrals. Are there any other metrics that are fundamental or foundational to a small business owner?
So those are the first three that I like to start with. And once you've really gotten consistent with those three, that's when you can start to play. That's when you can start to dig in and look at all these different things. Like the rabbit holes you can go down with are so cool. But one thing I love to look at is just growth over time. Look at those revenue patterns over time, because that allows you to create, again, those opportunities. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. But for example, a company that does this beautifully, of all places, are landscaping companies. So I'm from Ohio. And in Ohio, in March, I mean, it's like grass is growing, pollen's flying, like all you hear are mowers all day long. But towards the fall, okay, the grass doesn't grow as much. So what are these companies doing? They're not just sitting there. They know, because they've taken the time over time historically, okay, business slows down in the fall because the leaves are falling, the grass isn't growing. What have they done? They use this as an opportunity to create snow removal companies, leaf cleanup companies. And so they now offer different services. But that's what we're doing. That's all data is. It's there to help us bridge that gap. And especially if you're stuck in the messy middle of business right now, take the time. Make a date on your calendar and just start with one of these metrics, one of the three: marketing, sales, and retention and referrals. And look at it. Get curious. Look at it over time.
Oh, so I want to dive into two more things.
Yeah.
One, where they find the data, like give us examples.
Yep.
And then I want to get your recommendation on where you track it. Before we jump into that, you just said the word revenue. I'm actually surprised that you didn't say revenue or profitability as a key foundational metric. So where does that, is that like version 2.0, or was that like 0 and this was 1.0? I just wanted to, because for me, I have my own opinion on this. I'll share that when you're done, but I just wanted to get your input and on those two numbers.
You know, revenue is one of those things that I think as a business owner is like ground zero. Like you need to know your cash flow. You need to have an idea of your operating expenses and cash flow at all times. So, I mean, I think that is like bookkeeping fundamental 101. Like you need to, if you're coming to me, like that should be like squared away. But it is important to know that, because you need to know what those operating expenses are. You need to know what your profit margin is. You need to have that baseline understanding in order for any of the rest of this to work. Because if you're bringing in $100,000 but spending $99,000 on expenses, you just have a really expensive hobby. I'm sorry to like break it to you, but this is foundational. This is what you need to be aware of as a business owner. And this is what, again, separates businesses from hobbies, is having that clear understanding of, okay, I know where my cash flow is.
Yeah. I just want to speak to the listener that's listening right now. So I think we are in agreement that that is like 0. That's like foundational is revenue and profitability. And then the next layer is like, what is your marketing funnel and what are all those numbers? And those numbers lead to your revenue number. So it's almost like you just took that step above what your revenue is. Like, how did you get that revenue? And we're curious about that process. I will say that in my experience as a business coach, we've got six-figure businesses that have no idea if they're multi-six-figure. They really are just head in the sand, disorganized with their financials. They know that they're keeping the lights on. They know the bills are getting paid, but there's probably a lot of disorganization into the finances to where they're not getting regular P&Ls. And I just want to say, hey, That's okay. Like if that is you, do not jump to, your marketing funnel and your sales funnel. Really, I want to encourage you to get a handle on, we're going to call it version O or zero. Like
I like that. Yes. Version
zero foundation, because you can have a bookkeeper and you're still not getting your P&Ls. You can have a bookkeeper and you can have organized financials, and you never asked the questions and got curious to understand the numbers because of whatever story that you have. And so while you're in compliance with taxes, you can't leverage that. And so everything that Amy has shared today, I want to say about the mindset, about digging into it, about being in the driver's seat, about getting curious, experimenting, can start there. And then from there, build to your marketing and sales funnel.
Yes, absolutely. And, we talk about keeping it simple. And I think oftentimes we overcomplicate things to make ourselves feel important, because busy makes us feel important, right? We like to be busy being busy. And we all do that all too often. So one of the easiest ways you can start is just a simple Google Sheet. Oh my goodness. Like, don't overcomplicate this. And there's this wonderful platform out there called Zapier. And Zapier will connect whatever platform you're using and pull that information directly into a Google Sheet. There are YouTube tutorials out the wazoo out there. So just hop on YouTube and keep it simple, because the most important thing is that you just start. You start somewhere. You start looking, even if it just means opening up your Stripe account and looking, oh, what's actually selling? Where is this revenue that's coming in actually coming from? Embrace that curiosity, because it sheds so much light. I mean, Harvard Business Review says that businesses that leverage their data experience 30% faster growth. 30%. Like, this is crazy. So this is one of those things that, as a business owner, if you're building a solid business, if you want to scale your business, you need to make the time to do this. Yes, start with your P&L. Look at that first. That is like ground zero, business 101. Like, if you haven't started, don't do any of this stuff. Just go and look at your profit and loss. Like, that would make me so happy. But then start to add on things like the marketing, the sales, the retention. Start getting curious and embracing it.
Absolutely. All right. So I use a Google Sheet.
Yeah.
I was looking at all of the dashboard programs. I've sampled, I played with them. And at the end of the day, I came back to a simple Google Sheet.
Yeah.
And the Google Sheet is coupled with a recurring task that shows up on the first Friday of every month. And it pops up in my to-do on the first Friday. And it says monthly metrics. And I go from left to right, and I go and grab. And then I put links to where I grab all the data from. So I just click the link, grab the data, put it on the sheet, click the link, grab the data. And then once it's all filled in, then I take a few minutes, review it, analyze it, see if I can see any trends. But you may have up-leveled this, because I do use Zapier in so many other areas of my business, and I'm not using it here.
Yes.
So I'm going to get curious. Maybe I level up my Google Sheet dashboard. But I want to encourage all of you, that is absolutely enough. Like, you don't need, look, if you're a charts person and you just love the data, like you do you, good, cool. But I want to talk to everyone else that this feels a little intimidating and we don't know where to start. Just use a Google Sheet and collect it in one place so you can start seeing trends month over month, year over year.
Yeah, exactly. It is that simple. You're using it, Amber. I'm using it. Like, we don't need to overcomplicate it. And the really cool thing with AI, especially, there's so many little AI assistants coming out right now, and it's still kind of emerging. Like, I'm sure if you're listening to this 3 months down the road, 6 months, there's probably going to be some sort of AI bot that can then pull this information. But the most important thing, just make the time to look at it. Look for those patterns, get curious, and you're going to see just a wealth of information, because everything you're using has data on the back end. It's up to you to look at it.
Yeah. So to your point, so if you're not level 0 foundational, you're not level 1.0, I actually have started using AI, not to collect the data, but to analyze the data. And I just started a new conversation. I have lots of conversations going on with
I do
AI, but
too.
one of my conversations was specifically around my podcast listenership growth. And it said, well, to be able to really answer this question specifically for you and your business, here's all the data I need. And I said, ugh. Right? Just like one of those, that was a long list. So then I fed back and I said, great, can you tell me exactly where I get all of that data and how I get it? Great, kicks it back. Now it has a list. Now it has where do I get it, has instructions. And then I said, great, can you make that into a form that I can copy into Google as a questionnaire, and I'll go get the information, answer it, and then that's where I'm at. So I now transferred all these questions, instructions, where to get the data, because it's more drilled down than what we shared today with, the marketing, the sales, right? It's getting into like, what's your completion rate? Like really kind of more granular data. And so now I have it in a Google sheet, and I'm just going to answer it like an assessment. And then I'll give the assessment back to AI and we'll see what it says.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
AI is not emotional. So when you talk about taking the emotion out of it, right? That cool. Isn't that amazing to have something or a tool or a tech that you can use that is going to take the emotion out of it for you, give you objective feedback, and now you can make decisive decisions in your business. You can be more strategic. You can be more proactive than reactive. Really everything we talked about today.
Guys, oh, it's such a beautiful thing. I'm really excited to see like what integrations and applications, and we're on the horizon of something big. It's not something to fear in our businesses. This is a chance to innovate and really expand. And it's just so cool. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I thank you so much you answered all of my questions that I had for today. So thank you so much for being here and, shedding the light on not just the importance of data, but making it accessible and simple. And anyone that's listening today can go take that first next step. How do our listeners find out more about you and your services, and even share a little bit about your services, how you help business owners with data? And I'll let you close out.
Yeah, so absolutely. If you have been loving the conversation here, definitely pop on over to the Metrics Maven podcast. This is where I dig into all of the data-driven strategies and just give you so much massive value. My goal is to help you ditch the data drama and grow your business so that you can make the money that you want, because it's possible. It's absolutely possible. I am here as proof. So if I can do it, so can you. So go ahead and listen to the podcast. That is my favorite place to hang out. And then if you are ready to get started, pop on over to amytraugh.com. You can grab my free Data to Dollars workbook. It will walk you through step by step, even deeper, what we touched upon today. And just for being here, I would love to gift your listeners a free copy of my best-selling book, The CEO Method, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Business Success. Visit amytraugh.com/free book to grab your free copy today.
Incredible. We'll be sure to have all of those links in the show notes. So if you didn't grab that, you're in the car, driving, we'll make sure we're sharing all of that on the app in the show notes. Thank you so much, Amy, for being here and providing such great value for my listeners.
Thank you so much, Amber.
I have loved having you listen to this episode of the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. And I sure hope you found my conversation with Amy to be incredibly insightful, valuable, but most importantly, actionable. Because I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. The goal of today's episode was to make tracking your data and your metrics accessible, easy. We really wanted you to be able to see and experience that it does not need to be the big, scary monster in the closet, but really start where you're at, make it easy, do not overcomplicate it, and understand that the data will help you make decisions better. That was our goal when we met and I invited her to the podcast. And I hope that's what you walked away from when listening to today's episode. So based on that, what action will you take today to use data more frequently in your business to make decisions? And I would guess that the first step is going to be, how are you going to collect the data and what data are you going to track that will help you make decisions faster, easier, and probably more accurately in the future. Before we close out, I do want to just say that summer is unfortunately coming to an end. I mean, look, I'm not trying to get ahead of us. We are only in mid-July, but in our house in Vegas, my son goes back to school in less than 4 weeks. Can you believe it? And so if you are thinking that you are looking to get coaching support for you and your business come this fall, now is the time to be talking. If we book a discovery call now over the next couple weeks, you could be starting when the kids start to go back to school. To find out more and to learn about my coaching program and to book a discovery call, head on over to amberdelagarza.com/coaching. Again, that's amberdelagarza.com/coaching. I look forward to the opportunity to speak with you and find out if business coaching is the right next best step for you in your business. And if you are new here, I just want to say welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And if you've enjoyed this episode, my request is help the podcast grow. This is the work that I do to help business owners for free. And I put out high quality content that I know, because I hear from you, is making an impact in small businesses all over the country and in some cases all over the world. So do not keep this a secret. Share it with a fellow business owner who you think would find this podcast helpful for their entrepreneurial journey. That is my Straight Talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.